Okay, welcome back to the next session. Hopefully we are moving together and you are all fine. So let's just proceed now with our React Native course. So now, the last session, let me just run it. This is where we ended. So let me just move that one out of the way and that one down there. This is where we ended, that when you type your name, it responds there, which is fine. So now our application, as we set out, it can accept information and then display it. But what is happening currently now is, as we type, it responds. So we don't want that because that is not realistic. So what does realistic look like? When a user types their name, before it can show, the user must press some form of a button. And then once they press the button, now the application should respond instead of what is happening now, because that does not show the reality of how mobile application works. And then that brings me to the next component, which is called Pressable. So Pressable now allows us that when we click, we can click it by touching it. It can respond by touching the button, or it can respond by clicking the button. So that's the component that we are going to use. And I might tell you that this comes from React Native, meaning that we are going to import it from the first statement. So let's click at the end of that, and then we put a comma. Now we are going to call this one, which is Pressable. I'm going with Pressable, but I'm sure there's a lot that you can use. We are just taking baby steps here. So let's define what Pressable is all about. So Pressable, it is an area of a screen that can respond when the user presses it. So it is forced that when the user clicks it or touch it, then it will be able to respond. So now let's go back to this part. You see this part there. Here, let's target on our text input because that is where we are going to make some changes. So now you can see that we have a style sheet for this one there. That's the first one, which is the input. And then from there, we ask for a user to type something, and then look at this one here just to see the proof there. We just wanted to show that you have pressed something. So that is that. So let's work on this one. So I'm going to go down there. We'll put it down there at the bottom. I think we will update this as we go, so that it doesn't have to show us this information. So now, how are we going to do that? So let's add one statement here. We're not going to do much. We are going to add a statement that will allow us to see or allow the user to click something. So less than, then you're going to type Pressable, because that's the one that we imported, which is Pressable. Then I'm just going to add the style sheet as we go, because I know we're going to add a style sheet. And remember that Pressable will create something that the user can press. So I'm just going to call style as we go. Maybe let me just not do this. We'll come back so that it does not confuse you. Then I'll press enter so that everything is there. So now inside of this Pressable, we need to place the text inside that the Pressable can use all the ways that will form part as a button. Okay, so I'm just going to print text here. So we're just going to call text. Please don't use small letter T. As you can see that it does take it. We don't want that. So inside there, we can just write greet me. So that will be the text that will be displayed. We will switch this one off a bit because we don't need this one. All right, so let's add style. Let's go to the pressable and then we add style. We know that we use the keyword style. And then we put an assignment operator, the curly braces. Then we can say styles dot button. We will create that button later on. The style. We'll do the same thing for style. So the reason that I'm using a lot of styles here is to make you guys feel comfortable. So let's do the same thing. And then this one, we're going to call it button text. All right. So after that, we are going to create our style sheet. So we'll just copy the word button. Our style is getting a little bit bigger, but that is fine. So we're going to go there at the end, press enter, I paste and then colons, brackets, curly braces. So we're going to give this button a background so that it will be nice to see it. So as I said, what you want is what you type. So I need a background color. So that will be get background color, and then I'll put my columns there. And then again, the color, I know it works. You can type what you want or use the cheat code that I explained in the previous session. And then you can just grab one, then click inside, and then it's going to give you the colors that you want. So I'll go with 007AFF. I know it works because I practice. It's not like I memorized this hex code. And then I want this button to have a little bit of space, and we know that inside the text box or the button we use what we call padding. And then I'm going to give it a padding of 12. And then I want it to look nice, to have round corners, so we just call this border radius. And then I can give it a border of 6. And then I want to make the button to be the same as the width of the input, even though like it won't look good, but you get the idea. We're going to change this as we go so that it looks neat and nice. So for now, it's just for demonstration. So that will be the width. And then I'm going to, maybe let's call this 60% because 80, it won't be that nice. We'll change this as we go. Then we want to make sure that this button is centered. So just say align items, then colons, then we can say center because that's what we want. And then lastly, provide a space between the text that is above. So I'll go with margin. You know the drill, margin top. And then I can go with 50. So if we scroll up, now the button, now the button is fine. We are left with button text. So I'll copy it, go all the way down, comma, put it there, and then colons, curly braces. And then now let's do that. We're not going to do much here. What I want is to make the words inside the button to have a color of white so that it doesn't conflict with the color that I put there for the button. So that will be color, and then colon, and then we're going to put white. We know white, it's hash FFF F, comma. I also want to make the font size a little bit bigger, so that will be font size. And then we can give this like 14 points. Then I want to bold this as well, so that will be font weight. And then we can go with bold, comma. So now we are going to save this, and then we go back into our application. So when you see that there are no changes, it means that it didn't save. You're going to click Ctrl Hold over and over until it responds. There you go. Now you can see the button. Now you can see the button. We'll remove this as we go because we don't want this. So you'll notice that it's not responding, but at least we are getting something right here. We have a text field, and then we have a button that it says greet me, but this button does not allow us to press. so it cannot be pressed. But we have not told it. The reason that it doesn't allow us to press it is because we haven't told the way, we didn't tell it. We haven't told it what to do. The English ran away there. We didn't tell it what to do. So rather than making another video for that, let me just put this. It will be a little bit longer compared to the other session. Bear with me. We'll go back now. So now we are going to tell this guy that when that button is pressed, please respond. And how do we do that? Pressable does not only give you a way to mold a button, it also gives you a way that you must tell it, a set of instructions that will tell it what to do when that button is clicked. And we use what we call onPress. So I want you to think of onPress as when somebody presses this, it should ask a question. What must I do? So what we are going to do now, we're going to go back into our code here. So look there at the top there, the pressable. We define it as that statement. So what we are going to do is that inside of it, we are going to write a statement that will say that when I'm clicked, please do a certain task. So what we want here, for simplicity, we can just tell it that when it's clicked, it just print a message that, oh, I'm clicked. So let's do that. We are going to use onPress. And then, so you notice that it's not replying. That's a problem because it's supposed to reply when we do this. And that's where I made a mistake because it needs to go inside of it. Let me put it down here so we can have a little bit of space. I will not edit out any mistakes or errors so that if you guys come across that, you can be able to learn as well. That is what programming is all about. So you notice that now when I press onPress, it comes there. And the moment I select it, it comes with the curly braces that enables us to pass in a JavaScript or a TypeScript object. So what we want here, we're going to design a method. A method is similar to a function. Remember, a function contains a set of instructions that tells something what to do. So what we want to do here is to tell the button how it should respond when it is clicked. For now, I just want to print a particular message, and we can borrow from JavaScript that when you print something, you use what we call console.log. It's just to print. So to do that, because it's a method, I don't want to go to the process of creating the full function here. There is what we call lambda expression. I'm borrowing this from C# here. It's a short operand operated for a method. Instead of writing the full structure of a function, you can just take it from, you can see where it says app there, we can just take it from the brackets. I don't have to provide a name. I don't have to provide the curly braces. I can just write the round brackets, and then I can just tell what the method is supposed to do, or a function in this case. So we'll start with the round brackets, and then you put your equal sign and a greater than. That all this is just taken out that do not provide the name, do not provide the curly braces, just go straight to the business. What is the business? We want to print a message that I'm being pressed so that we can see the evidence. So to print, we're going to say console.log. And then after that, for those who are comfortable with C#, this works the same as console.writeLine. Okay, and then after that, inside we can just print this thing. We can just write something small and say button pressed, or whatever you want to write there so that you can be able to see what happens. All right, so I'll save this, Ctrl+S once again. Now I'll go back to my button. Again, if it does not respond, you need to go back and save this one. Save it. Save it. You notice that it's not showing, but I can guarantee you behind the scene it's showing because we use console.log, so you're going to click on an empty space on your browser, and then you're going to go to inspect. We want to go here to the development there. Let me just zoom in. So let me just do it again. Right click on an empty space, you go to inspect. Of course, as time goes, we will do this better. And then click console. For now, I just want to show you guys. You can see the button pressed. Again, button pressed. If I go back here, just to show you guys what it does. So they can just put here and say proof. And then I'll save this. Then I'll go back. When I click, you can see it's showing proof. Click, showing how many times I clicked that, how many times, and all of that. So what did we do now? We got a button, and then it was not working. To respond, we decided to use an onPress, and then we use console.log so that we can show you guys how it works. Catch me again for the next session. Thank you for making it. I shall see you for the next one.